we may kind of look at you for some back and forth. Okay, it's 1 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Our Father, we just thank you again for being able to meet. And we thank you for our country and the things that you've provided for us. We just ask that you guide us this day and follow your guidance and help us to serve them. Give them this kind of best way to do. Thank you for your son, Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Good Monday afternoon, everybody. A little different schedule here today. If either any of us says good morning to one another, you'll excuse our mistake, but we'll get over that. So the first thing on the agenda is any county personnel or public comment. And seeing none, I guess we will, if you want to come in between or anytime during the meeting, we'll make some space for you, but we'll just move on. So pretty simple agenda here for us today. And you'll notice there's only two. It's just Bill and I, so we're gonna do our best to get along, right? Right, okay. And we've got the minutes from the 30th of September. Did you have any questions or comments? I had one thing. Should we mention Doug Fletcher's retirement in the minutes?
Probably good that.
Okay. Okay. Hey, hi there. How are you? I'm all right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, yes.
Okay, we'll just send this microphone your direction.
Sounds good.
That'd be good.
Would that be all right?
Yep.
Just a friendly amendment, just to mention it. And then with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
That addition items. Will improve manage.
Okay, I'll second it. I guess all in favor say aye. We got to do it aye and aye.
Aye.
Yeah, okay, aye. All right, good enough. Motion carried. It's a little strange to do it for just two people. But I suppose parliamentary procedure, if we move it and second it, we still have to vote, right?
We still do, yeah.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, moving on. Payroll from October 1st. Any questions or comments on this? Or go ahead.
So this is just a question. I assume I know the answer, but when janitors work overtime, then what like the city or whoever pays, that goes back into the janitor's budget.
And then what is?
Good. Is there a motion to approve then?
Where we approve them. For the payroll. Or whatever that was. Or 10/1/2025.
Okay, I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Mr. Parker, you are probably on a schedule.
Yes, sir, good.
What do you have for us that you'd like to discuss?
Well, I'm able to coordinate a little bit back, with Nikki on some list items.
Mhm.
I've got, I kind of wanted to go through part of that,
Okay,
if we have some time.
the
So,
only thing on our agenda is a 1:30.
oh, well, I'll be done well before then.
Okay.
And I heard Nancy this morning. Or what happened on that, so I know I'm filled in on your 1:30, because I saw Nancy this morning over.
Oh, okay,
Is that-
okay.
Okay.
Just to make some introductions here, we had our Republican committee meeting last night to appoint our new commissioner, and he's in the room. It's Richard Fisher. He's not official, but he's and Austin Parker, Richard Fisher.
Austin, nice to meet you. I'll meet you. All right.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
So you'll be working with him in the near.
That's great. Thank you. So we had I had a handful of items that I needed to, thank you. I had a handful of items that I needed to, that were on my last week to-do list. Okay, and part. Thank you so much. So my items on my last week to-do list were, and I'm just pulling that up. So I worked a little bit on where we're at with the ham agreement. I spoke with Don Pounds, okay? And what happened was, I think there was, and it sounds like the payment provisions were roughly the same, okay? Between the two. There was are we gonna litigate if something comes up in Douglas County or in Brown County? And we got that, so it is Brown County. I looked, it's kind of a long agreement. There's like two parts of it. Okay, but I think other than those two things, it sounds like it was a request to get. That Kevin was even thinking it was a good idea that we get a clean version of an agreement back, because there's been several of addendas. They're on like our sixth addenda, so it's not a bad idea to have an updated agreement. I did look at parts of it. I've looked at the fuel surcharge and what's happened elsewhere. We usually never get the benefit of it going down. But what they will do, what I have seen, is they'll say, look, our fuel charge will be at this amount. And we could ask for it to be lower than, because right now they have us at 350. Okay. And what we could say is, we want to be at a lower amount, or whatever the prevailing rate is for fuel, where they're getting it from. Okay. Because the problem is that right now, they don't want to go too low and they don't want to go too high. We don't want them to go too high. They'd love to go high, I'm sure. But, diesel's in this sort of 330 to 345 range. Okay. So we're not losing a lot there with their fuel surcharge based off of how far we're going. I mean, but it's still something to address. So I'm going to work with them on the fuel surcharge and try to get back with wherever we get the best out of it at that. Okay. And then also the minimums for our hauling, I think we're meeting our minimums anyway, back and forth. So I don't think that's much of an issue, but that's something that, it's on a to-do list now. I need to get back, hopefully with them. Some point in the next, you need it, oh, that's okay. But I'm gonna try to get back with him this week. Figure out, it may take another week or two until it comes back, but we have really over the next 2 months to make sure we get something done. Okay, well, that's part of that. The second thing is, I have emailed and I've spoken with Mark Slauson, who's the Evergy representative. Okay, this is a longer lead time for them than for us. Okay, lead time for them than for us. Okay, I sent them some draft language on what I'd like to see in there, see if they couldn't help us out with it. They had an attorney, I think, he's in one of the Kansas City law firms. I don't remember which. Okay, but he reached out to me. I'm following back up with him. He reached out to me late Friday, or I think it was on Friday in the morning or the afternoon. I'm trying to remember. But I'm following back up with him when I get back to the office later this week. They're not going to do anything on maintaining the two poles that are there until either the 26 or the 27 construction cycle for them. And I found out exactly what they're trying to do. So they've got two poles that are right adjacent to our site. And the easement that they want is like that anchor easement. I think we talked about it. Okay. And they said they don't know how they do know. I mean, whether or not we limited it just to that or something a little bit broader. I said, yes, that may be all you're taking, but you've got a really broad easement. So let's describe what the scope of the project is and tie it back into that. So I've sent that email back. I'll see what language they come back with, but it's not in a black hole because somebody got back to me in less than a week, which is amazing. A lawyer from Evergy getting back to me in a week is a miracle on their end. So then, I looked over our right-of-way process and placement of items in the easement. And we run it through a road and bridge form, which is actually really good. Okay, because if you think about it, most of the time, all of our right of way as a county is road and bridge right of way. Okay, so what I would suggest is. I think that what we're really needing to do is just add a form at the bottom part, a line at the bottom of the form, and we can try to fit it on there. That says, these are additional conditions that we would like to see, so that way we can just add something in. All right. And then we also had I've looked at we had a question for burial marker placement. Okay, and oh, that's fine. They must have figured it out. The VA can be a little bit of a pain, but I've read the VA form on how do you process a burial marker. And they shouldn't need anything directly from us. But if they needed us to sign off that it was okay that somebody did it, that we didn't have a restriction, that's fine, we could do that. But we'll do, like I said, I even offered, I said, whoever's trying to fill this out, because I served in the armed forces. So if they needed help filling out the form, I was just gonna try to help them fill it
So
out.
is this all done anonymously? I've never seen the name.
It's all kind of, I don't, who is it?
I mean, I'm familiar with the service member who was recently buried on private land. And I just,
Yeah,
I didn't know if, are they having any trouble? I mean, they're working through you or through him now?
yeah, I
to
think,
get this stuff.
I asked David if there be the contact for, what kind of letter that you want, and I have not heard back.
Okay.
and I've looked on the form. I don't know what, I've even got family members that dealt with this earlier this year, distant family members. I don't know what kind of form they'd be, because the form doesn't require a letter, but if
Okay.
it's something special, sometimes the other thing that could be going on right now is with the government shutdown, some of this type of task back and forth may slow a bit. But so that one's sort of on the wait and hear back list. And then I had a conversation with I think it's Amber Well Health. I think that's the name. Okay, but the hospital, I had a conversation about how we're treating and evaluating people that are coming in that are newly incarcerated or have been incarcerated. And Kevin asked that I loop in because there could be some legal liability questions for how that works with the county. So I started to loop into that. I've done quite a bit of that work. I used to be insurance defense counsel for a bunch of communities around. I've dealt with a bunch of that work. So, but I'm talking with counsel for the hospital. They were the ones that were suggesting a potential meeting. Was going to happen next week. I said, sure, I'd be happy to come over. I could. But then I also said, maybe it's easier if you come back we had a very productive conversation. So why don't you come back with your policies and your procedures? I'll look at them legally and we'll come up with a position statement that'll clarify how we bring people in, what do we do? Okay, because part of it is if you have somebody that's coming in and we have a responsibility to provide available treatment. Okay, and the sheriff's office does when someone's coming in if they're initially. So if someone's coming in and they've got some potential medical condition, we have to provide them the potential available treatment. Okay, but then if they're not consenting to it without some type of a probable cause warrant, if we're going to do something that's like a test, that could be evidence. We have to do some things there to make sure that we, from a criminal procedure standpoint, collect that right. I don't want to step on Kevin's toes there, but we want to make sure that we're doing that. But then the medical treatment wise, if somebody says, hey, we think you might have a medical issue that needs to be treated, and you want to deny that treatment, or you want to say no to that, then we have to formalize how that happens so that we have a record to protect us. Okay. So that's really that conversation. And then I had there's a longer lead time for interlocal agreement for right-of-way maintenance with the tribe. And this was one that I mentioned last time. That's it's on the books to have that conversation. I thought it would be good to start it because there's some tribe interconnectivity, I understand now, with what's going on in Amber Well Health. Okay, in terms of how people are coming in for treatment and care and those things. That doesn't necessarily play with us, but there was some contact that was happening there, and I said, well, if I'm gonna have contact on that with someone at the tribe, then it might be a good way to start this conversation. But I probably will follow up, maybe Nikki, I may send you an email to, if you have any contacts at the tribe who I might want to be talking to, or if I, whoever I need to start the conversation with, I may send an email later this week on that. But with that, that was my update. I'm sorry I went a little long, but
No, that's great. I'm not sure if you're gonna play the role of facilitator, but if you get in contact with someone in the tribe, I guess extend an offer from the commission, you know, if they need something, just come in, what are we? We're kind of separate governments in the same part of the world here, but there's opportunities for us to work together. And if there's anything, you know, you can do to extend that to me, I appreciate it.
oh, I'd be happy to. And I do think that there's some, I do like the idea of working with the tribe, collaborating on certain types of things. So there are some things that we have that they vice versa.
Right.
Okay, that we could potentially really get a lot of good synergy out of. And there's stuff that the tribe, it's not that they're not doing it, it's just that we have different areas of specialty.
So I had one thing on the landfill, this is my notes. Part about a termination clause in to cover the Kansas cash basis law.
Uh-huh.
Did that get worked out also?
That's still on the to-do list within within the HAM agreement, we're gonna have a termination clause for everything this cash basis. But it gets back to that, and there's really two or three things. It's the Kansas cash basis, termination provision, okay, the rates and the fuel surcharge. And we've come back and it sounds like the rates are consistent with where they were before, so that's good. I've looked at the form, so the form Brown County, which is what we want. But the termination clause, I think, would be a good thing. And then I think the only other thing, and I may ask Don to make sure he's okay with it, but the minimum hauls a year, I think we have a certain, like, it's like 40 minimums. I'm gonna double check that. But I want to make sure he's comfortable with our minimum hauls, which I think he will be. That'll be that.
Okay.
Other things?
So it's said in there that almost like that they would haul for us, but since we already got somebody hired to haul, can they compensate? Or,
Yeah, and so that's what we need to do is we need to go back. That's why I want to ask Dawn, how are we have somebody that's hired to haul. Okay, do we need to pay their minimum hauls? Or can we get rid of the minimum hauls and just use them as a backup? Because if they're not hauling about once a week for us, if they're only hauling once a month, then I'd like to reduce the minimum hauls down to like 10 or 12. If that makes sense.
what do you mean by minimum hauls?
They're saying right now that it costs for them under the HAM agreement, they're gonna charge us. Let me just pull it up here.
And on right there.
Hey, Don. Nice to see you.
We're talking about the HAM agreement, so.
We were gonna talk about, I think that HAM's got some minimum hauls in there. They've got a certain number of hauls that are,
That's to do with, them giving us an extra trailer. That's all that has to do,
okay.
as I asked for a fifth trailer.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking at this.
You need to look at it. There it is.
I think I got them to get them.
Okay, 17 pages, that's impressive.
Well, I've read it a lot of times. Jeff Ham and I have been talking back and forth quite a bit, so we've got it changed the way we both like it.
Okay. So I'm looking at the MSW seems right. It says you're either gonna give us 5 trailers. So long as at least 85% of the MSW is hauled by a third party. Okay, then if the MSW's not hauled by a third party, then it drops to 4. Okay, 85%. It looks like here. I think we're all right on the hauls. How do we feel about the minimum annual tonnage of 3,900 tons?
I believe that'll be fine.
Okay. And then, I saw the cost of living, I think that's okay. That 3%, that's not that far off.
Will you adjust the landfill rate? Commensurate to that, I guess. If there's an annual 3%, are we doing the same thing?
We never have in the past, as far as I know, this last one that we made late fall, early winter was the first raise in quite a while.
So do we need to look at that and tying our rates in? Here,
Sure.
I would say maybe a year down the road,
okay,
look at it and see how we're doing. Right now, we're doing fine.
okay.
So it kind of concerns me that we just automatically put a 3% in there. Whether we know if the cost of living's going up or down or.
3%, it's greater too. The minimum's 3. If there's another one, what's it tied to? Some other index? I think if it's higher, it could actually go over.
Right, so the 3 is a minimum. But
So what they're doing is they're saying. In the United States, we've had a couple of instances where we've gone below 2. Okay, but we're usually somewhere around 2.90, 2.6, 2.16 in a bad year of cost of living increase. They want to make an additional percent profit every year. That's why they put the 3% increase in there. And so
Right.
it's, and by that, I'm saying what they'll do is they'll take the CPI, which is usually somewhere around about 2.86 in a normal year. And then they'll throw an additional 1% top of it. So it'll usually be about 3.86% usually.
if you increase it 4% per year, after 5 years, you're 20% greater.
I know.
Well, even more, actually.
Yeah. And that on a lot of these, you're not gonna get, I can go back to them on, I would be happy to say, hey, we don't like this 3% rider increase. I think most of the time you see on all of these solid waste contracts, there's almost always a 3% rider. There's not, that's just something that's sort of become an industry expectation, which I don't like. Because I like to be fiscally constrained, but usually even if you went out and tried to rebid it, which we're sort of in a unique situation because there's not a lot of other people other than Ham that's available to do this, but regardless, if you try to do that, you see about an average 3 to 4% increase. I can show you. Hold on here while we're chatting. Let me just pull one up.
We can certainly ask them, but it sounds like it's fairly standard. Now that we know that it's coming, we just have to plan for it. If you say we could wait a year, then we wait a year, but in 2 years, we better do something.
And it's going to compound too. So you gotta keep that in mind. If you do it every year,
It's
it
going to-
sounds like less, it's compounded. So if we wait, we're kind of getting behind the ball too.
Right. Don't want to wait too long.
Right.
Just unfortunate.
So my thought is that hopefully the country's changing a little bit, so maybe we won't have that much inflation every year.
No, you're right. But the Fed's target inflation rate annually, if we get below. Sorry, I'll sound like I do some finance. The target inflation rate for the US is 2%. If we get below, when we get into 0%, do you remember the 70s stagflation where everything was a mess? Right? The 70s stagflation. Do you remember back in Carter, when wages were going up and we didn't have any inflation, but then everything started to go up together? You remember that back in the 70s?
I just remember it was easier to make a living back here.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But we had this stagflation thing. And what happened was the Fed said our target inflation rate is 2%. Okay. So if we get what they do is they try to control with the treasury bill rate,
Right.
they try to control us to 2%. So the idea is on a good year or a bad year, your contract should be at 3% because they want to take our target inflation rate at 2%. And if we get below that, then the Fed will increase interest rates to get us back to 2%. Because if we get below that, they're worried that things happen. So, hold on here. I have found the the Waste Connections contract from Cheney, Kansas. Okay, this was their comprehensive franchise agreement for hauling municipal waste, just so that you had a comparison. Theirs is about 18 pages long too. And their payment. This is from back in 2022. Rate adjustments will automatically exceed. We try to negotiate them down to 2% from 3% where they came in. So that's what I'm gonna try to do, is I'm gonna try to say, let's get down to 2% from 3%, okay? And then their fuel rates. Sorry. They backed in their fuel rates to their hauling rate here. Per ton. Not all of them, but they were also doing it a little bit different because they weren't hauling, they were collecting at individual residences. Okay, and so what they were doing, we were billing out solid waste. So the ones where they collect from, where they collect bulk, there's usually a fuel service charge. Okay, but this one was a little different. They didn't have that because in that they had single stream recycling at the house. That's what the contract was for. But it was between a 2 to 3% increase. So anyway, that's just sort of a reference point. So I'm gonna try to get them back to 2% from 3%, but we'll see. Okay,
Would it be wise of us to give our local haulers a little bit of heads up to the contract? Once you get the final number that every year this thing is gonna go up 2%, just.
yeah, no, I would.
You know, whenever that happens, you say not next year, but the year, just give them a heads up so they know it's coming.
I think that's a smart thing, and then I would also probably say, look, we should budget for passing that. I do think, you know, at least in a year, if you don't want to stair step, okay? Because the problem is that sometimes, like, I've been around with a number of utilities where we don't raise rates for 5 years. But we went to, in some of our utilities, we said, we're just gonna put a utility rate increase every year. And we'll tie it to the API or the CPI, right? We'll do an automatic increase there. Okay, and that may be part of the conversation that goes back to him. Okay, and this is a good roundabout way to go back to him and say, look, we're gonna tie our rate increase to the increase of CPI. Can we tie your rate increase? Or we're thinking about tying our rate increase every year to the CPI. Can we tie your rate increase to the CPI so that we stay on top of it? That's a good negotiating position too there. I'd probably try that, see if that comes back, but I would try to do the stair step every year, and I would let the haulers know, so that everybody knows that they just build in that into their price. Does that make sense? That's probably more information on that than you ever wanted.
We
Yeah.
like it.
All right,
I like information.
anything else for me?
What is your state?
I can hang in.
You've been hanging out, okay.
Are you good with the rest of the contract?
I've looked through, I'd like to read it one more time. I've read it. It's in 2 parts. I'd like to read it one more time, but I can email you back, or I could talk directly to Hams if they've got, I don't even know if they have an attorney on this.
Jeff Ham is the one that,
Is Jeff
their
here?
guy,
Okay.
he's one of the owners.
Oh, well, if I could talk, maybe I can get back, other than that, the real performance stuff in the contract. The other thing we need though is a termination for convenience. Okay, like upon, it doesn't have to be, we can do it annually, but we can't have a contract that doesn't have an annual termination allowable. Okay, because of the Kansas cash basis. Kansas cash basis law says we gotta be able to annually, and it's all because of budget appropriations. So as long as we put that in there, the rest of it is legally fine. It's all within the bounds of what you can legally do,
Okay.
right? The rest of it all becomes preference, okay?
I think he would like your recommended language for that termination and
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to him, and I think, do you have Jeff's email address?
Send that to
Yeah, if you'd send it to me, what I'll do is I'll go back with him and I'll send him over. I'll look through one more time and see if there's any legal practical things that I think I would recommend being adjusted, but I think right now it's all legally, it's other than the Kansas cash basis law, and then on dealing with the fuel automatic increases on both of those things. I'll go back with some of that language. But other than that, I'll try to have that to him. If you give me that email, I can get that to him this week.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you. It's 1:30. Nancy, you're up. Coming up.
Second time today.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, also.
I'm not sorry.
Well, you never like to, hear things twice if you don't have to.
So you're giving the same message 2 times today.
I'm giving you the
You
same.
haven't
message
perfected
every
that.
time.
Ah. Okay, well,
It's that time of the year.
Sure. Why not?
FYI, I did get that word changed.
Oh, good.
I got the bumper in.
Good job.
Uh, It's time for the review of the solid waste plan, which is Brown and Devon County share. We met for the annual review on September 29th, Dawn. And Lucas was both there, so this will be a repeat for you guys. And if there's anything I've left out or you want in, let me know.
okay.
Okay. Because we did the whole plan last year, there weren't any big changes this year, but there were some changes that were made. Brown County, as of course both of you know, is no longer a member of the 3-county Atchison, Brown, and Jackson Household Hazardous Waste Consortium. Nemaha County still continues to be collected by Riley County. And we didn't really discuss Monday night, Brown County's plans for HHW, and I don't know whether you considered that or figured out what to do with that.
That's up to the individual households.
Yeah,
what
okay.
they would do.
Okay. I knew when previously, one time you went out of the consortium for a short time, people had to take it to Jackson County if they,
And talking to Jackson County, they said they didn't accept any out of county,
oh, okay.
so. It's just I could not make a profit collecting that,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I understood that we just didn't go into what might be, but on the wood pellets, they continue to be a problem in both counties, and after the meeting, I did a little research on this and found that there are 2 companies in Topeka and 2 in Kansas City that do recycle and dispose of pallets, so we'll kind of follow up on that. I haven't had time to do that yet, but we'll find out, what they might have to offer. Nemaha County had a fire at their C&D pit. I don't know if you had known that previously, but it was very, very difficult to extinguish. So they're trying to make the pit more efficient and hopefully more fire resistant. And I'm sure that's just a hazard of those C&D pits that you have to watch for. If that doesn't happen, something doesn't combust. And of course, you have a new solid waste management hauling service here in the county, and talked about those. That is very apropos that those both came up at the same time. Both our counties have experienced rate increases in their respective landfills in the past year. Brown County in December of 2024 and again in May, and Nemaha County on June of 2025. You based your increases I think on a percentage rate, whereas, Nemo County just did a flat rate, but otherwise. The outcomes the same. The construction of your new building at the landfill is exciting. I'll be glad to see that because we all know the old landfill building is, past its good use. So congratulations to you on that. Nemont County received in that past year a solid waste management grant from the Department of Health and Environment. And it went to a new glass bunker, which will store the glass in Nemont County until a semi-load is collected to go to Oklahoma. So it's both a safety feature and just a convenience, but this, the storage facility is outside the buildings at our recycling center, so that makes it a lot safer thing in fact to have glass collection inside where people are working all the time and visitors are coming and going. And because we found there's a real relationship between emergency management and waste disposal, if there is a natural disaster or a man-made one, it's important for emergency management departments to be involved with this also. And Dawn and Eddie both do a great job of keeping me informed and working with me. I really appreciate it. Eddie did take a course last summer that would help in this direction should we experience one of those natural and human-made disasters. What we need to do to take care of that. So, that was what I had. So,
Well, I'd only make one comment on that, because I've gone through a couple of natural disasters with FEMA. And when we start hauling loads away, okay, if we start hauling a lot of tree brush after, knock on wood, we don't have this happen, but when we did in Oaklawn, when the Oaklawn Improvement District had a tornado came through, we hauled, and if we kept track of the number and where we were going with the loads, FEMA would reimburse. And they also reimbursed on the hours. So, but what we had to do is we went back and we said, look, we did 30 loads and we drove through town to do that. And so they gave us mileage and they gave us the dump fee and then they gave us our hours. So if we ever have that happen, as long as we start tracking at that level, that's good enough for them. So.
And we actually just had that with a snow disaster.
Okay, yeah.
And we didn't end up qualifying for it, but it was a good practice because all the townships had to document all their work
Yep.
hours and everything, so.
Yep.
Yeah, people are used to that.
Good. That's all I have.
Yeah,
So,
thank
okay.
you.
So do you have to document how many cubic feet or something you had in each load?
There'll be a dump fee every time, but if we have, let's say that we're just dumping brush, all right, in a pile. Okay, as long as we keep track of the hours and then what it takes for us to actually dispose of that, like, let's say that we had, I don't know exactly what our setup is, so forgive me, I'm not trying to, but if we're dumping, all right, and we have a per dump fee at our waste collection landfill, right? Whatever that is, we just track our dump fee and then,
So you
yeah,
don't, doesn't make how big a load you.
FEMA's not that good at that. FEMA's not gonna,
What
they're not that good.
What they will do is reimburse. There says it's so much per vehicle, that's what it is, so much per ton. It's whatever you are charging is what they're going to reimburse. So we need to set the rules and say this is what it's gonna be. And it may be how many cubic yards that truck will hold.
And they won't, once you set the rate, that's what FEMA's not that good at. They're okay at paying, they take a while, right? But like if you set the rule and say it's this here, they're gonna deal with it.
Sounds like you already have that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds like we're good. I just wanted, that was the only thing I,
Mike brought it up. We're there.
Does that tie in to that gravel driveway that you mentioned a few months ago?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Is that still in the work?
It's something that we need if we have a disaster. It's kind of one of those things. We don't have a disaster, we don't need it. But there again, it can be that we have enough gravel in storage, we can call Road and Bridge and say, put us some gravel, and that's what I've been doing in the past. In just an emergency thing and do it, and then that would be billed to FEMA too.
Did you get your gravel to the CND pit? Did that happen?
It's on order, the kind, so I'm gonna have him bring it, it's when he's got time.
Okay.
So we've got all the potholes filled and just ready.
And your new driveway still holding everything? Good?
Yep,
Good, good, good. Okay, I just haven't been out there in a while. How's the building?
it's coming, I just got a big setback. I got phone calls that parked out here, that septic tank, it's a huge mess. And the guy that was going to do it just backed out. So it's too big a job for him. So,
And he told me by the end of October,
yeah, well,
that was before.
yeah, it's supposed to be
TikTok.
November first.
I don't know if he's gonna make it.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think the building will be there. It's a septic tank and see if anything works. Which is an important thing.
So what,
Yeah.
what was
Start
it?
with the outhouse.
It was
Get posted there.
too big a septic tank, or what did you say was wrong with it?
It's too big a project because we're gonna have to dig across that, put it in steel casing and put a new lateral field in, because everything's collapsed.
Okay,
And
so,
we dug up, I just went out there in the middle and started digging and found the old sewer line and it's completely caked with clay.
And
It's never
I
worked.
apologize. I segued over to Dawn. You were still giving your report. You're complete. Do you have any questions for us or?
That's.
Okay,
I'm just here, if you have questions for
We-
me.
Okay, I don't, I mean, I don't. I don't know. Do you have any, Mr. Pollock?
you said you took care of the pellets, right?
No, we haven't taken care of the pellets, but we're
Going
on
to-
the road
going
to
to.
find information. Last year, nobody anywhere
No, I mean,
could possibly get rid of.
in
but
your.
I did find 2 places, so I'm gonna see what they tell us about those pallets.
About pallets, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I think what you're talking about.
Yeah, I
the
was talking
spelling-
about this up here.
oh,
Sorry.
Yeah,
well,
no, it's,
you know, all I can tell you on that is we have been really, really pleased with Riley County with that. But we have a really nice situation. It was Big Lakes when we started with them. We had massive collections of the hazardous waste.
Mhm.
So we're down to where we don't have harbor in it anymore. And then, of course, Riley County then took over Big Lakes, so that's where we go with that.
okay. Well, do we need to approve this? Or is this just as
It
presented?
needs to be in the minutes,
in
yes,
the minutes.
that you approved or accepted or whatever.
Then I guess I would make a motion then to get in the minutes that we accept what's reported. Is there a second?
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried.
That's all we.
There's only 2 of us. That's just,
I
if I sit in the
noticed that.
center, it just seems strange, doesn't it? Here. Anyway. Okay. Well, thank you
Thank
very much.
goodness for roll.
For rolling, you bet, you bet. Okay, now Dawn, you're here still. I mean, anything else we need to know?
I don't have anything.
All right.
I express my appreciation to Don, though, he's very good to work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, it's very nice. All right, excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you need me for anything?
No, I was gonna ask you about the lateral field and you just told me. So you're in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And yes, you'll just,
Yeah. Well,
It's a work in
what we
progress.
can do.
okay, yeah.
All right,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, now we're back to, I'm gonna ask, since Austin's still here, I have a question. And this is with our recently appointed by committee but not officially installed commissioner here in the room. What are our coma restrictions as far as being able to speak to him before he's officially in?
Very limited. We just speak to them directly.
Okay, I mean, so when he was helping.
Official action on behalf of the share.
Okay,
I would say. You can share with him all the different level of information, because everything here is really public record.
Okay.
All right, now then, if you if you advise him on personnel related stuff, so let's say there's an elected personnel issue. Okay, then you can invite him in because he's going to become a commissioner soon. You could share that. Okay, you're still inviting him in as to discuss matters related to non-elected personnel. I don't know that we have anything like that today. Attorney-client privilege gets a little different. Okay, if we're gonna have an attorney-client privilege executive session, then I would probably recommend that I only go with you because that's where the privilege stands. And then it's the attorney-client privilege is your privilege. So you could say, hey, I'm going to waive that to this person to explain what's going on. So I would advise you first, and then you can have that conversation with him. So that's basically everything. So you could really talk with him all the way throughout.
Is there a way to get him up to speed as far as? I mean,
Yeah,
But, I mean, I don't know how this happens in the past. You know, when I became commissioner, here's your honor. Is that how we wait? You know, we wait till it's official?
you don't have to wait. When do we become official?
When the governor says, I,
7 days after the governor.
So we've got another week maybe, because we, probably a week and a half. Probably not. I mean, do you want me to drive to, I'm gonna have to drive through Topeka anyway. I'll just drop a copy of it off. Don't have a copy. Well,
Okay,
so I would plan on it being next week, not next week, but the week after.
Okay.
So I would suggest,
he's working with us on some really good stuff. I can still talk.
yeah, talk to him. No, you're not in violation. No, you're fine. Talk with them. Let's get you up to speed as much as possible with what's going on. And quite frankly, you can have a very collaborative conversation with him here. I've always found you kind of know what somebody would vote on and do anyway. When you talk with them. But again, probably I would say executive sessions until we're there. I'd probably, unless you really want to invite them in on a personnel, then I think figure out a way to do that, but I would just probably do the executives without, and that'd be that.
Okay,
Okay?
but on a work session, it would feel like the, you're,
Yeah. Work through stuff. Why not?
that answer that? Do you have any questions for him?
Well, there was kind of a different situation because I was already doing some tasks for the county.
Right.
Uncompensated. And so the relationship was already there to make a call and say, hey, I would like, maybe to talk with this bridge foreman. I want you to-
Sure. Yeah.
If I was to call Bill on the phone and say, hey, I'm gonna go talk to your guy and say, is there anything wrong with that?
So you're not, see, this is where you get into, you're not an elected official yet.
Right.
When you become firmly, you can't do that because then that's an open
I
meeting.
understand.
Yeah, but right now,
My question is just comment.
COMA's gonna go in as soon as you become formally a
Okay.
member of the commission. So until then, getting you up to speed with that conversation, that's not a thing. Okay? When it becomes, COMA attaches when you become firmly vested with when you become firmly vested with your elected office. That doesn't take effect until 7 days after governor notification. So in between now and then, there's not a COMA situation that comes up. Okay?
Very good.
When you take office, then you're only acting
Sure.
in the meeting. So there you go.
I was asked this morning to provide some information with the chairman.
That's fine.
He needed the board to.
That's fine.
And so I did that.
So when it takes effect, there you have it. Until it takes effect, you're just working. So
Understood.
if that makes sense. No
so,
problem.
so 7 days after the governor said that,
Yep, that's it.
I didn't know that.
We'll learn all about the political process.
I assumed it was as soon as the governor said yes.
I'm literally pulling up the state statute right now.
Okay.
Hold on
But
one
it's the
second.
very same thing. Yes.
So, thank you.
Okay,
What's that?
Thank you for there checking things out.
no problem.
One of the things I learned at last night's meeting was people can't hear you speak. So I was told to tell you to speak clearly and loudly into the mic.
I heard that too. I was informed also.
Okay.
And that there was other people they couldn't hear either.
Well, we try, we'll look in the statute to see if we can get it. We're all gonna speak more clearly and louder volume, trying to get this to come across on the recording meeting, so. But you had no problem when I adjusted the mic when you were on.
No, I heard just fine.
Okay. So we also need to be better at if someone in the crowd's gonna speak, we need to have them come up here and sit, just nothing else than to speak into the microphone. Okay, so you're still looking to answer that question. You want us to move on? while
Sure.
you're looking?
That'd
Okay.
be just fine.
Item number 3 on our agenda is the personnel policy revision. Nikki worked on this. This was based on conversation last week. We have the changes in red. Yes, I'll just read it. Formally, it said elected official, and that listed the county clerk, the commissioners, the register of deeds, the treasurer, the sheriff, and county attorney are elected officials in this county. They are responsible to the electorate of the county, state statutory requirements, and fiscally responsible to the Board of County Commissioners. They do not earn or report any form of leave time, but are eligible for other benefits offered to county employees. I'm looking at page 4. There you go. Okay, what I read was just right above the language I read. Okay, so we've changed it now based on the conversation. And Richard, you're here. Now we've changed it to elected official. This is a new one. Because we struck commissioners from the original language. Elected official, part-time. County commissioners are elected officials who serve the citizens of the county, working 20 hours or less per week. They are accountable to the electorate, must comply with state statutory requirements, and are expected to exercise fiscal responsibility. Commissioners are eligible to participate in CAPER. So we're eligible for CAPERs, but as part-time employees, we're ineligible for any other benefit. Okay? Is that the intent of,
That was,
was that your intent?
yeah, that was, I'm not sure. The other part says under 30 hours, you're not eligible. It's 20 hours. I mean, it's no big deal if you work more than 20 hours or not. It's still the same, so I don't have a big problem with it. And I don't know how to make better.
So the intent was to remove the eligibility of commissioners for the benefit,
Right.
since we're not putting in hours like a full-time position. That's the intent. I think this is what this does. And the 20 hours per week is, I mean, I'm not putting 20 hours in. I mean, we probably did through the budget a few weeks there, but
Right, but normally we probably don't.
okay. Okay. And I asked, the only question I had on this was if we could somehow remove ourselves from any cost of living adjustment raises that the county does, like a blanket. And so I asked the clerk, and she said, we just have to make that in the form of a motion when we do that. You know, essentially, if you grant a countywide cost of living adjustment, we would just exempt the commissioner at the time. Make sense? Okay, right on. So I deferred to the expert. So I would assume, since this is a change to the personnel policy, we need to make a motion to approve it.
Yep.
Now, you're the new commissioner kind of on, I mean, we're gonna do this, you can't really vote, but are you okay with this, or do you have any comment? Come on up.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yes, I do have a comment. I mean, the reason this came about, I think between all the commissioners and I had input into it as well, is we believe that as we go forward, trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can to not be offering benefits that are not normally offered, and with the intent to save the county money. So obviously, if we remove the benefit of health insurance, I'm not privy to what health insurance costs per employee to the county yet, but it's still a substantial cost. And so that was the whole reason behind this. The cost of living going forward, it's the first I've thought about it, but as a commissioner, I would be fine with that as well. I think that it's kind of like a living document. It changes, 3-4 years from now, depending on the county's budget, it could be readdressed at that time, you know, if compensation was to be adjusted or whatever. But the idea was, I think we were all on the same page, is that we're trying to lead. We're trying to show an example and say that when we are trying to make cuts, if we have to make any kind of cuts, that we'd be the first one to take cuts. And that's how it all came about. I'm fine with the language that you guys have used. And I think we're basically on the same page here.
And as far as cost of living, that we kind of, whoever was commissioners at that time would have that.
Correct.
My intent with that was, so sometimes you can, if you're a sneaky politician, you can vote yourself a pay raise in by voting other people to pay.
Sure.
Right.
And so I would like
Sure.
to detach that.
Right.
And so the commissioners, if they want to get the cost of living raise adjustment, which is fine, then they just have to make a vote.
They
Sure.
have to take responsibility.
So one way or the other, we'll work through that. Okay, so this language is good.
Yes.
You want to make a motion to approve it? Or, I mean, do you like it the way it is?
So, yeah, so I just, one more comment, I always figured this job is part-time, so this goes along with that, and then. When you get raises, you don't give it a full. Give an hourly wage, you don't give it for $2,000, you just give it for.
Correct. Correct.
So I think that's addresses that, so yes, I would move a. Just, personnel policy to reflect that, commissioners. Or elected officials and serve the citizens, and they work 20 hours or less and. But,
You would accept the changes basically to.
yes, that's why,
Okay, well, I'll second that. So it's been moved and seconded to accept these changes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carried.
Very good. Thank you.
And now.
Yep.
Doman. Okay, so the second thing we tied in, and this didn't make the agenda, but this goes to a salary adjustment for the commission.
so
Right.
I had a. Well, I talked about last week in a work session. I had some different thoughts about that.
Okay.
So instead of. Drop that, like we said we would talk about. And since we're working with employees and extra cost to help their insurance costs. And until we get that figured out. And if we would have to go and drop everybody's pay rate. Then I think maybe we should reserve some so that we would have some that we could take big drop to attack time necessary.
I don't follow.
So if you take a 10% drop now.
Huh?
And then you might still have, be able to take a 20% drop later on. That's it, and that would be. Well, say if we need to drop the employees hourly rate by 10%, they could drop ours 10%, and that would still show them that we were doing as much as we're asking them.
I think I understand you, and I'm gonna try and come at it a different way. So we had adjusted our salary, I think it was 27.88. And then we made a decision to lower it by 2,000. So I'm doing this the Mr. Paul's way. I'm gonna do it right on paper, and now I'm at 25,880, which I think is close. Okay, and so we had made, so what you're saying is you want to, is 25,880 where you want to be, because you want to reserve some room to continue to go down? Okay, so you're telling me that you want the salary to stay at 25,880?
Somewhere in that range, yeah.
Okay. And that's to reserve the right to go down if we ask others to go. So just devil's advocate here. If we go down now already, I mean, if we take the jump right away. What's the harm in it? You feel like if we ask, and I don't know where this, honestly, where this is coming, because have they ever asked for a pay decrease across the county that you're aware of? But, so that'd be uncharted territory.
Right, so, but to me, we're kind of uncharted because our costs are going up so much, and that's one way. If nobody wants to drop their insurance rate and contribute to that, then the other alternative is you have to drop your hourly rate a little bit. But
Well,
I'll go over about
if-
this.
yeah,
It's
I don't think, at least I didn't understand that you two as commissioners felt like we need to drop the current pay rates of any employee. Right? If you're making cuts across the board, you're making cuts in the way you purchase. You're making cuts in the way your equipment is purchased, all those kind of things. Those are fiscal cuts. I'm not aware of counties going in and saying, well, we used to pay you this and now we're gonna pay you that. I think that's not a good idea. Okay, what I'm talking about is if you go into a department and the money's not there and you look and say, hey, we used to have 10 people in here and we need to make a cut, we need to cut one person. But I'm not for cutting people's wages. I think I think we hired them on in good faith. We told them what we would pay them, and that we need to commit to that. That's when we were talking about the commissioners maybe taking a cut, it would be in a year where the county understands that we have to cut back. Okay, so if, for instance, if you guys had decided to take a pay cut, that's for this fiscal year, it wouldn't be looked at again throughout the year. And when you get into your next fiscal year, if that's something that the commissioners wanted, you'd look at it then, but it would never be, throughout the year several times or whatever. I think what you guys have done, and I agree to it, is you've looked and said, we were getting health insurance and that's worth money. There's a definite value there. And we agree that if we're making cuts across the board, we're looking for areas where we can become more efficient, more streamlined. That's a perfect example. You guys have done that. Yes.
We're not getting health insurance.
Okay.
We're not taking.
Okay.
But
And that's wonderful because that's your choice.
But I do think if I could maybe interject and support exactly what you're saying, I do think, and I don't know exactly, what's our commissioner total pay? $26,920. Okay. We're not asking our employees to take an across the board pay cut right now. And in that, we're not doing that. I know that they did a pay cut for, and this is actually a good point of conversation. They did one in Nemaha County when they decided to do county administration. Okay. That pay cut didn't translate in the same way that you would expect that a pay cut would translate. Okay. Really, you're talking about, it did provide some additional money in the county commissioner discretionary fund budget, and they reduced their expenditures in that way. Right. But when you're talking about removing the line item of a benefit, if I'm taking that, health insurance is oftentimes well above $1,000 per head. Okay, a month. So if you're looking at this and you're not taking health insurance right now, but removing that benefit, people at home may not think think naturally what that cut means. But that annually right there, taking that step could well mean to the county between $45,000 to $60,000 right there. Okay. Now you're talking about 25. You're talking about basically $2,000 a month in terms of pay at the moment from the county commission. The reason why county commissioners are paid versus where you go to cities and they're not paid is that there's more expectations of county commissioners than there are traditional city council members. Okay. You are basically, in the way that these governments are set up, even if you have some level of administration that helps, you're administrating the way that the basic service provision works in this county. Okay. So I don't know that, I think if you want to go on ahead and make a cut, I think you're fine. You want to look at that. I would encourage you not to slash it well below where you're at right now, because at that point, then there's a difference between no one works at that rate with the expectation it's a full-time job. Nobody's doing it. Okay. And it makes sense that you make some type of cuts, but again, you're dealing with a substantial budget, and $4,000 to $5,000 in pay allocation here is not the type of cuts that you're looking to make. You're looking, if you're doing a reduction in force, and also going across the board, just like the other newly appointed commissioner noted, going across the board, You're not cutting people's wages just to cut. You are streamlining and you're making reductions in force where it makes sense for county operations to maximize the budget. So I don't know that you're getting a lot out of, and this is an artful way and maybe a long-winded way of me saying, I wouldn't worry about cutting my wages right this minute. I'd leave it. I'd look at it. If you want to cut your wages, you just made a huge cut without health insurance. Then you can do a pay wage study and look at it across. I should say I wouldn't. I would say I wouldn't necessarily push it. I'd look at it. And then before I cut my wages a lot, I would look to see what other people are doing. Do an informal wage analysis and then do it.
So we're at such a unique point in history here, where we've got three people on the commission
Yeah,
that aren't looking at this as a primary source of revenue.
that's right.
And we're not looking at it for health insurance. We're just here purely to do kind of the work of Brown County because we care.
That's right.
And I'm not saying I can't spend the money because I certainly can. My logic on this salary reduction, and it's just my own.
Oh, I wasn't trying to, I'm sorry, I didn't understand totally. This was, both of you wanted to do a salary reduction. I didn't understand.
Sort of, but it looks like we,
I guess what I was thinking, we need to negotiate something in the future, whatever it may be. That would be
you wanted to leave some meat on the bone.
negotiable.
And if I could add to that, what we're trying to do is we're trying to show that if there are procedures or policies in place right now in the county, we're trying to look at it as managers and saying, hey, going forward, we're going to save the county money by saying that if you want to run for commissioner, the county's not going to provide you health insurance
So,
as of right now.
so I like that. Okay. I also think that this is all I'm really trying to get at. Okay. There's certain costs for you coming to the commission meetings. Right now, you're still coming once a week, right? Maybe it streamlines and you come twice a month. Okay, as you're getting efficiencies, look to cut. You guys are, yes, in a unique position because some other people rely on that and you guys are not relying on it. Okay, so in that, just know making a cut now is good, but in the future, if you get a commissioner that runs and says, hey, I really need X, you may have to look at something, not for you, okay? But again, cutting it, not a bad thing to do, right? And it also shows solidarity with the budget thing. So whatever you want to cut it, that's good. I'm just letting you know that you're in a unique position.
We've already cut it, so,
Okay,
which ends up being about $2,000 a head is what we've cut it.
that's fine.
My logic was we hired part of the commissioner's duties with some budgetary process.
Right.
So we outsourced that
Uh-huh.
to the tune of about $25,000 with Lloyd Consulting.
And that's good.
So if we did that and we, in my opinion, some of the burden that I'm supposed to carry, I just spent the county's money and handed it to somebody else.
And that's good.
So
logic.
if I reduce my salary commensurate to a third of that, which is approximately what we've done there, then essentially we pay for that service. That guy made our lives easier and he provided us with a lot of really good information.
Yeah.
But that he did part of my job, so I feel like maybe I should.
And I think you're right to do that. I'm just trying to. Okay, and I also finished the statutory research while I was listening. So
Okay.
I've got that too, right? But I was listening, I think I got about 80% of all the conversation.
All right.
Forgive me, all right? You are operating. You're doing the most difficult thing that a commission can do. At once, with two commissioners here and one that will take office in a week and a half. You're talking about compensation for yourself. Okay? You have no advocate at this table. The closest person that you have to look for your best interest in terms of compensation is me. That's why I play devil's advocate for a moment. To say, yes, it is good that you're looking at that. Okay? But at the same time, you must understand that you cannot cut yourself so much that you don't cover your costs. Right? And that's what I'm trying to say is that if you were saying, look, if you want to do $2,600, $2,700, $3,000, that's fine. Don't get much below 24,000 here. Not a good idea.
And I believe that's what Bill was saying. Bill was
Yes.
saying exactly what you're saying. He was saying, we're fine right now.
That's okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, so,
Stay where we are.
well, or you could go down to your $2,000, but you think, but the other thing is, in the future, it has to be enough to encourage people to come want to do the job.
So I do think if you're taking it down 6,000, so you're at 26,000, that would put you at 24,000, right? That's
We're higher right now, right?
where you at now.
This budget,
And you cut 2,000 each, right?
That was the intention.
Okay, if you cut 2,000 each, you're still above $2,000 a month. Okay,
And
That's
as
a good
as a
place.
percentage basis, that was a pretty good cut that they took.
yeah, that's a good cut. That's a 10% cut
Right.
right there,
That's-
almost a
yeah.
10% cut, right?
And I believe that's the message they were trying to send is, look,
And
we're
that's-
willing to
Cut.
affect ourselves as well.
That's what I'm saying. I'm suggesting that. I'm also suggesting don't go much below that right now. So take the 10% cut. Okay, I would suggest that if you're at $2,000 a month, if you think of it like this, there's 4 meetings a month. All right,
It's worth one.
there's 4 meetings a month, and this doesn't compensate you for anything else that you're, 5 meetings a month, right? 5 meetings a month, right, to travel to and from, and the time that you set here and put into it, okay? That is about as basic as you want to go. If you start making more cuts below, I would cut the 10%. I'm not saying don't do that. I was misinterpreting that there was going to be some other
And I
design.
believe we're all clear. We do not want to cut anybody's salary that works for the county.
That's right.
We're not looking at anybody that's working here right now and saying they need to be cut. That's not what it's about.
Yes,
Right.
yes. But I do,
Need to come out that way.
does this make sense?
No,
Or
I
was- what
I
was
agree.
trying to
You
say,
didn't.
maybe
I'm just
not?
saying,
not sure.
that's where
I
we
get
all
it.
stand.
Yeah, and you can still, again, I am a servant of the commission and of the board, okay? But I'm also not doing my job if I don't say, wait a minute here, don't do something that's negative for you. Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
Very good advice.
Thank you.
So 10% wouldn't, that would be way more than 2,000. Be 2,600 bucks.
$2,600. And I think if you're talking about the difference between $2,000 and $2,600, as long as you're above 2,000, 24,000 a year, as long as you're at 2,000 and above, I think you're fine.
So where do you want to go then?
More than. $100, one way or the other, don't make any difference.
I think you've already made a cut. I think you leave it whatever you did, yes.
Leave it where you're at.
But we did the health insurance thing,
Yes.
but again, I mean, I didn't take it, so I'm not.
You didn't take it because you chose not to take it.
Right,
You could have taken it at a cost to the county,
and I could.
just like
So,
Mr. Pollock. So that was,
so, and I'm going to articulate that one more time, then what that really means. You cut $2,600 in pay approximately each
So,
a year. But what you really just finished cutting is even if your health insurance cost is only $1,600 for the county, you really just cut very close to $60,000 out of the administrative budget
Right.
this year, right, doing this.
Right.
So that is, and if you put that up from wages and whatnot, you're going to look probably like the largest cut budget in the county. If you do that, that's why I'm articulating,
Right.
right? That's also for your benefit to put that in perspective. It looks like to you, you're not cutting anything, but you are. Because you have to appropriate that in our budget every year, those 3 health insurance slots, even if they're not used. I don't know if we did or not. We should.
But,
We
but in the future, you
Yeah.
would have. to.
you have to in the future.
and I think we're not even necessarily looking at this year or next year. We're looking at the future and trying to do some sound
That's
things
right.
here
That's right.
to be able to face the people that we talk to and say, look.
Yeah.
We're doing our best right now to.
That's right.
It's one thing to back up from what you've had and go down, but it puts a future commission in a pretty tight spot to have to look at that and say, well, we need to go back up.
That's right.
And so we're looking out in the future that,
Be-
since this is a part-time position, it totally makes sense to us.
Because in Seneca, Kansas, last meeting, they cut their wages 50%. And they were higher than you. about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, one of the commissioners made a motion to increase the pay. I don't know, 8 to 10%, died to a lack of a second. Okay, so once you cut down, it's very difficult to go back up. So that's why I'm saying in the future, just remember in mind, don't go too far. That's it.
Well, we had a guy come in here a few weeks ago and he sat right there and he made some pretty good points and thought about it. I went home and took the calculator to it. And that's why we're having this discussion. But if that's,
No, it's good. You're right.
that's where we need to be, that's where we need to be. I mean, I'm satisfied. Then,
So if we think we're getting too much, then we could do like what we do with the. You know, so you're gonna put that on risk where we just donate that money.
oh, absolutely.
And Bill, I don't think anybody's thinking you're getting too much, like you
No.
said, it's not too much. But it's the willingness to start at the top and say, we're trying to be as efficient as possible. In 2025, 2026.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all we're doing. And
I
that
would-
would change next year.
I would, strong recommendation, the only staff, you know, that's not, I mean, not that Nikki's not staff, but you know, I'm just trying to, Nikki's elected. Stick where you're at. leave it,
Yeah.
Be done.
Again, none of us would want to cut anybody's salary that's working. for the county.
Let's move on.
Yep.
This would be,
Thank you, you just wanna write it out.
We already took some.
Just write it out. Okay, no, that's fine. I mean, that's fine.
That's not what I said last week, but.
You have the right to change your mind, so it's okay.
I thought about it a little bit, I thought.
All right.
Let's-
okay. All right,
Well, that scratches that off the list, I guess.
so we're gonna leave it. We're not gonna cut.
I guess, but we did the health insurance thing, so we did something and our salary still cut from last year. We just didn't go any farther.
Okay,
That's the right way to say it.
that's fine. All right, that's the right way.
Correct.
So then here, I looked at the, there's different statutes. This doesn't happen every day. So we had a convention. That convention brought us to a point where we were, where an appointment was made to the governor's office. Hold on one second here. And KSA 253901, that group of statutes says how we do these filling. Okay, how we fill these things. And if you look here, there's a district convention and then there's an appointment by the governor. Okay, and after that convention occurred, after a person has been elected to be appointed to fill a vacancy in a district office, the chairperson shall execute a certificate within 24 hours of such election, unless that the day following such election is a Sunday or legal holiday, in which case it shall be mailed by the next regular business day. Thereupon, and not later than 7 days after such certificate is received in the office of the governor, the governor, in the governor's absence, the lieutenant governor shall fill such vacancy by appointing to such district office the person so elected. In the event the governor or lieutenant governor fails to appoint any person as required by this subsection after receiving a lawfully executed certificate hereunder, such person shall be deemed to have been so appointed, notwithstanding such failure. The person so appointed may qualify and enter upon the duties of the district office immediately after appointment. So you're not a commissioner until you are appointed by the governor. That should happen this week. And if we don't receive confirmation back, then it will happen next week, but we proceed until we receive from the governor the confirmation. If in 2 weeks it hasn't happened, then you will assume your duties as the commissioner. So that tells us how to operate in the meantime.
And the certified certificate was forwarded from the chairperson, the chairman of Public and County Committee. Is that right?
No, no, I was told last night that there would be paperwork that I would need to sign, and then I was informed that as long as they had certain information, he could forward that on to the governor. That's what I was told.
Okay, all right. Rolling, okay.
So, have you done that yet?
No, I provided the information this morning,
Okay.
yes. And then I'll follow up with him today and just see where it went from there.
Well, yes, I said, when I was doing the job, I just take it down there and give it to them.
All right,
Well, I could ask
Quickly as
to
possible.
do that.
okay.
Or if you email it, mail it.
All right, then, and Austin said he's going to Topeka.
Yes, I am.
Maybe we could get the paperwork in the right
Well,
hands.
contact Chris, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris will, I'll drop it off at the governor's office.
Okay.
I'll just walk in.
Say the stand. Yeah, there you go.
Would you like to make that call to Chris or would you like me to make that call?
I can't. If you
Yeah, I think that would be.
Yeah, why don't you,
Barry.
if you make the call, I'm gonna, if you wanna call him, I'll get a sack lunch around here somewhere and I'll wait to pick it up and I'll drop it, I'll walk over. I'll walk it over.
You want to recess and call him right now?
Yeah, I'd give him a
I
call.
think that'd be great.
Well, then, if it's all right, then I make a motion, we take a 5-minute recess for me to make that phone.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we'll recess for 5 minutes. We'll come back about 2:26. All right, we're out of recess, back into a regular session here. The next thing on the agenda, if we're ready to move on, is item number 4, and that's the K Camp annual meeting. Looks like we need a voting delegate, as we no longer have one. So
may I ask a question? Why does K Camp and K Work have their meetings at exactly the same time? Right?
they can say,
Pretty much the same place, no? I don't know. I'll ask him a question.
But I think that,
They might sort
I think it's because they run that.
on their own. So the meetings actually are,
That's also the time. That people
so is it two separate meetings or is it one?
They just have the same, they have a work comp and they have general liability here. And so they're just trying to meet it the same.
So the board of directors is the same for both?
No, I think it's probably different, but they set them up, they're like self-insuring. And so they keep together this.
it's a 29-minute meeting according to the.
Right,
minutes.
it's not a very long meeting.
Yeah, and that's why usually it's the same person.
So we need a volunteer.
Nick has been a
She's our alternate.
alternate, right?
You want to continue to be alternate?
Well,
What about the voting delegate? Do you want to be a voting delegate? I was teasing. It was a bad joke.
They got a,
You will do one?
we don't know, we might have.
Zoom. She said
No,
the Zoom
Zoom.
option.
Oh, yeah,
Is that something you're interested in, Bill?
I'm not really that interested.
Is it something you would do though?
in-
All right, I'll do it. It's fine. It's November 4th. No, excuse me. It's December 9th. Is that right? Or that was, yes, December 9th, but we have to notify them by the 4th of November. So it's at the Hyatt Regency. Wichita even, that's quite a little jaunt, but you're saying we can Zoom if we want?
That's all.
I have. But
Well, okay, you have to go, but if I can Zoom,
I would see.
yeah, I'll Zoom totally. That'd be great.
Unless you're going to a meeting, the other meetings anyway, and that when the,
Yeah,
Association?
will also.
but I mean, that's when the Association of Counties has their meeting is December 9th.
Yeah, I'm.
The big meeting.
All right,
Well, were you gonna go anyway?
no, I wasn't gonna do that,
Okay. Okay.
but I think you could.
Well, that's where we went last year, right? We met with the KNRC.
Right,
But the other meeting was running.
same time, right?
Okay.
You may, somebody. I'm not. I am. I'm going to be as commissioner. Not even a commissioner. We have it. Maybe the development. I don't know if you can say.
And when is it?
December.
December 9th.
12 for 2
It's
days.
Wichita. You gotta drive to Wichita. Fly out.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with that. The only reason I would not be interested right now is we have a bunch of stuff coming up in December that we're gonna be traveling, so.
I'm gonna be, I'm gonna go. And so, something we would. Pay for every day they have to. I'm not saying that Brian can pay. But they can put you in there, but I can do it. Something comes up.
Okay. If I can Zoom, that's
I
fine.
wouldn't, I wouldn't.
Sign me up. And
Yeah.
for your permission, there's a K-Camp new commissioners orientation type meeting after the first of the year, at least it was last year. Will there be another one?
I think those things. If it's not an election year.
Oh, well, that's too bad, because I really liked that last year, or the beginning of this year. I was able to learn quite a bit. Because really, you just get thrown right into the.
Sure.
There's no commissioner handbook or whatever. So
Correct.
You gotta learn on the fly. Okay, that's taken care of then. Do I need to fill that out?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
form.
take a motion to approve you guys to board delegate for a pay.
Can I, this is the call. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, it's done. All right, perfect. All right, thank you. Okay, well, we're right in the meeting here, but I think, thank you. Bye. He overnighted the documents. Okay. Stuff like that. That was the Republican Committee Chairman, County Republican Committee Chairman. They were asking about the documents from the newly appointed commissioner, and they've been overnight, so. Sorry, I had to take a phone call and then I'm sort of rude. Okay, so you wanna, I'll make a motion then to appoint myself as the delegate for the KK community meeting Tuesday, December 9th. I'll participate by Zoom, so, and our county clerk will be the alternate. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. It's done. And I guess the same motion would, does it work for both of you? Yeah. Okay. Which for K work, same thing. The last thing on here is the end of month report. Any questions on this deal? So what we're looking at here is we get this printout with budgetary information there. So on and so forth. Usually there's a few questions.
I don't think I have anything.
Really? All right,
Heard everybody was fairly well.
I'll ask one. This is weekly self-insured invoices. There's red ink there in parentheses.
Oh, yeah, that, I think.
Could you explain that to me? Is that a reimbursement? Okay. Well, I think invoice, I think bill, when I see a number of parentheses, I think credit. But I don't generally associate a credit with ready. So. What do you? The idea was, yes. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Question answered. And did we have any questions about the funding for that? ADOT, the reimbursement thing, that all got worked out?
I think so. It's just taking it out of the capital outlay.
Yeah.
And when the KDOT money comes back in, we'll reimburse the capital outlay.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so we've got all these, then the end of month reports, there's,
And along the road deal, they did reseal it, sealed that board.
I saw that picture. And it turned out okay.
So
All right. All right, and the end of month reports, we've got a whole bunch of stuff here for road and bridge, the items purchased. And was there any questions on that at all? Okay,
much to do last week, approved all those.
all right, so then, and there's a picture of the seal. There's the 270, that's the new road. They had one load that was a questionable on, did it get?
But their claim was to say roll her off in the dirt and roll it back on the pavement.
So contaminated.
And so the solution was to,
Seal it.
well, seal. Was there any more information on that? Sure, where that? Yeah, so we did it. That's good.
And who actually performed the work? Who actually performed the work there?
The sealer,
All brothers.
Okay, and
question?
I was just wondering, so how is that work inspected? Is there a sign off out there or when they're doing it? Do we have any inspection? Well, they're usually an engineering firm, but they usually do not perform inspection unless the specs require the way I've seen it. So I'm just wondering how work gets approved around.
Yeah, I drove by it, that's all.
Okay.
The short answer is,
Wasn't affected by any question.
we have a county employee on site that found this.
Okay,
So that is the limit of the inspection, was a road foreman.
that's one of our form.
Yeah, but as far as somebody out there with, doing the depth of the asphalt,
Temperature and depth.
right.
So this is well beyond the scope of county council of normal work.
But you're not the normal county council.
Maybe not.
Okay.
When I went out, because Commissioner Paul asked me to go out and take a look at this while I was in, so I went out and looked. This was the area that I think that they sprayed back. And they put some lines there. This was the area close to it. They put some lines there where there's some divots. But I thought was not as smooth as it could have been. They came back with the sealer, which I thought was a little bit interesting. But then I went out and I checked to see on one of the driveways. I pulled off on one of the driveway areas to see. And I think this right here. I got that. And I think it's a 3-inch leg.
It's which way?
2 inches. Is it 2?
Yep.
Then at 2. I used this and I used the measurement function on my phone, which I randomly checked. I think they hit 2. Now we didn't do it, I don't have a course to do anything, but I think that they hit 2 on the side. But I do think in the future, if we're doing any type of like a civil engineering level, we have BG, okay? One of the things I would do in the future, if we're gonna have some engineering on site, is I would go on ahead and separate out construction design from a construction inspection. And sometimes we use separate firms because you don't necessarily want to inspect what you design.
Exactly.
Yep. We're speaking the same language.
Sure.
Yep.
And then also I would only add that when work is being performed, does the county have a spec that all this work is basically governed by?
So the answer is maybe. Okay, so they might, if they don't, and I'm just coming on 2. Okay, if they don't, there is a KDOT road manual,
Right.
and I would run off the KDOT road manual.
Sure. And quite often you'll see in these specs, they're just cut and pasted from another job.
Yep,
But it's important that we understand that when we have work done within the county, what governs that work in case there is a problem,
that's right.
right? Because if you go, it's not just visually, it's like what you did. You're going out there and you're doing measurements, on asphalt, a lot of times there's temperatures being taken to make sure
Right.
that it's being delivered in proper temperature. There's a lot that goes on, but if there is a conflict, the contractor who I used to be, one with would say, there was no spec you gave me. I'm following this spec.
And that's
And then it's after the fact that it becomes a problem.
absolutely, and I do think what we might want to do. And I could look at this for the next meeting. We're not doing probably a lot more pours this year, but if we are. Or however we contract in the future, I think we could if we adopt the state road and bridge standard.
Right.
The good part about that is that we're gonna have consistent pours.
That's correct.
Because then our pours are gonna look similar to what. It's gonna be a little different because we've got county grade road, but our pours are gonna look similar to what they want to see on the KDOT maintained highway. So I think that's a good idea.
And the other thing about that is you can adopt a spec that is, we're gonna follow KDOT. But when you do a special project, you can also insert specifications for that project
Uh-huh.
that supersede KDOT.
Yep.
And then you have an order of them, basically an order of importance. So
Yeah,
our personal specs, because we want something maybe a little better, would supersede it and they'd have to do it to that for that project.
yeah,
And that's very, very important.
This is just some paperwork on that. It doesn't have the spec, probably what you're after.
Okay.
But that's some of the information that we
Sure. I'll
take through and read it, but.
I think we're on the right track there. It's making sure that we're paying for work that we believe is to a certain standard.
Sure.
And verifying that it did meet that standard.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I watched them, when this point a little bit about it. They were checking them. And they're sticking, pull them in,
Sure.
and pick up their asphalt and. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, this is kind of off topic, but so many bridges that we have grants for. Does KDOT specify what kind of bridge it is, what the grant's for, or do we have any leeway in determining what kind of bridge we want?
There's leeway. We can talk about the types of bridges that we put in there. They build bridges, they've got our road. You know, we build them a certain way. Because that's probably what we know how to do. There's other types of bridges that we can put in. But there's leeway. The county, the state of Kansas. Is not. They're like. They have the golden rule, follow the gold when they're ruling, okay? But KDOT, if you have an engineer that says yes. They don't care so much. They're not like that, excuse me. They don't come down and say, because you're doing it this way, you have to do this. They let you locally determine what the project's gonna look like and then certify it on up. As long as you're giving them a bridge with costs, they're less like Godwin. Okay. At least that's what I've seen in the past.
And quite often, to answer your question, you'll see. During city states. When they're receiving grants, there'll be language that says it must meet or exceed this. And so your question was, can we do different types? Yes.
Yeah.
But there'll be a set of standards that says it must meet this or exceed it. And. My experience has been, every county's different. Every governing facility, I mean, it's just always different. And that's why it's so important to. Come up with our own set of specs that we all agree that any work performed in here should be pursuant to this, and then we can design more if we want. For that project.
So I guess my experience is, seem like engineers kind of back up each other. But this one bridge we're talking about building, I thought. This I-beam bridge would be satisfactory for it, would be a lot faster to build. But the engineers designed a hunchback bridge, which I think is twice expensive. Twice long to build. But,
So,
and I suggested another one, but I didn't go anywhere.
the materials for some bridges are $80,000. And if you go out to bid on that, it may be a $700,000 bridge. A lot of that's engineering, a lot of that's manpower when you mobilize, right? There's a difference between results and best results. Okay, now the span of the bridge may get into all that, I-beam versus the other, I'm not an engineer. But you're asking questions that whoever our county engineer is, okay, we can have that conversation later on. And when you're asking those questions in the future, before we approve that, we're gonna talk about what the options are to get to the lowest cost. Does that make sense? Are we building it yet, or is it built?
No, it's not built.
Have we approved it?
We haven't bid it. It's not been bid yet.
How much was the design?
The grant was for. About $1 million, and we're supposed to pay 10% of it.
Okay,
So the state was responsible for 9%. And they designed a bridge, I think it's $1 million bridge. And it's like a. And then, of course, there's there extra charges on top of that. Time they take to watch it being built. And it was, the bridge that's there, it was a 56-foot bridge. And we had a bid for another bridge that was a 50-foot bridge for $235,000, or. An estimate, it wasn't a bid, it was an estimate. Out there, a 56-foot bridge shouldn't be
who engineered it?
PNG.
So, okay, let's call them. See, if you wanna call them and get back to the cost, call them and find out whether they can do an alternative bridge that has the same life for less.
We've already paid a lot of it. I mean, this is, it's not complete information, but that's the bridge he's talking. Right, 178.
Right,
You paid, yeah.
and I've tried to talk to them, what they would, yeah, it's like. So. I'll get-
Engineering, 35,000. And some change, preliminary engineering, 40,000. RW, geotech for you.
So they're done a geotech already on it.
Jump right in.
You can go back to them, I mean, look, if you give it,
I completely agree with your statement that you called B and G and you, and basically asked them the questions.
down, you're,
So I was told, all that Providence State had required that, because my question is,
can I?
does state require that? I mean,
You're asking good questions. Look, how blunt should I be? I'm in my third meeting with you. Would you like me to be blunt?
take up to them.
No, I'd be blunt. This is a government grant program. It is the equivalent of a blank check for a contractor and an engineering firm. As long as they hit specs. KDOT will pay for a $700,000 to $800,000 bridge.
And they're gonna do it.
That's why they engineered an $800,000 bridge. A municipality is gonna pay $250,000 for a bridge because that's their budget. So they engineered a $250,000 bridge solution, okay? Your materials are $80,000 to $90,000 on a 56-foot span bridge. Okay? You're paying more money because they went to the state of Kansas to pull it out. So call BG and say, look, BG, I don't want a $100,000 bridge because I don't have $70,000 in grant matching funds. I got 40. Get me a $400,000 bridge to make it work. Can you do that? Or do I have to scrimp and scrape to get 70 grand? This is me a little blunt. I'm brand new with this board, okay? It's greed. That's the only way I can say it. You're asking the question, okay? But they're not giving you an answer that necessarily gives you all the options. Because in their mind, they're like, it's a 90% grant match fund and the state of Kansas likes it. And maybe they're giving you a bridge that lasts for 80 years instead of 50. But for you, you're like, I saved $40,000. I'd rather have the 50-year bridge instead of the 80-year bridge. And does the 80-year bridge really last 80 years? I've never seen one that lasts that much longer than the other, but I'm not an engineer. Okay, so your question is, go back to BG, put the pressure on BG to come with an alternative solution to lower our local match. If you want to ask it,
Okay, I guess
you can
I
do that.
I was gonna go ask the state what they required and then go back and.
That would be like asking God.
As a wrong way.
That would be like asking God why he created the universe. You'll get a very long answer when you need one sentence to try to get a short amount of information. All you want to do is lower your matching as much as possible to meet whatever the state allows you to do. Because if you call the Kansas Department of Transportation, you might still be trying to find the engineering spec by Christmas. Okay? Let them do it. That's their job. They make money off it.
What he's saying is the Brown County wants a Toyota. We do not want a Cadillac.
That's right.
I've been trying to tell
We
them.
want a good quality product. We don't want to pay.
And you
for
have,
that.
you have.
Yeah,
Right.
and I'm not saying you haven't. I'm just saying that's where we're coming from.
Right, because if you can build for $500,000, then we'll have to pay 50,000 instead of 100,000.
But the engineering expenses will be less. We conventionally-
That's right.
And they'll build it faster because they're gonna quicker build a bridge.
But they'll make less money.
We're
Yes.
100% into the.
That's why they won't care. And because they've now made 100% of their money.
Yeah.
And so they'll like it because they get a change order. I mean, this is blunt.
But then the other bridge, they got their guys sitting there watching it be built for 2 extra months. And so that adds up too.
Commissioner, these are all very good questions, but when people ask. You just have to, you get out of life what you put into it. And right now, we're saying we're gonna put a little bit more time into this with our engineering firm, and we're gonna ask them to sharpen their pencil. So when we ask them that question, one of us, do you want me to call BG? Who do you want to call BG?
I don't know, I've been talking to them and I don't seem like I'm getting that far.
Okay, let's get a
I'm
number.
not
for
started from the, what,
Either me or you, Lucas,
I'm not trying to defer, but you would be much better.
I'm happy to give them a call. And I have a feeling that on these issues, it's probably,
There was a reason we used to get hired a lot, because we were electrical contractors and engineers. We did a lot of value engineering for other firms, and they
Well,
pay
you're
us to
an
go in and go,
you wanna call?
no, I want you to call.
I'll call because I'm the lawyer. Let me do that.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's good. All right, so if you get me the number, Bill, I'll call.
But in the future, I have no problem if you want me to be the lead on these.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
I
my
think that's a great idea.
That's my background.
So it's,
There's a reason design build jobs are the most prevalent in other states on these big projects, because they figured out that if they can hire a firm that's designing and building it, and they're getting three bids, then they're gonna go with the best design for the best price,
That's right.
not just engineer, throw it out and get bids.
Okay,
Much better.
okay, so we need to get you a phone.
You send that to me, I'll do it. You can text him, Bill. You might have.
no, yeah.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
But yeah,
You know how to text,
I-
you're lucky and you don't.
I've refused to.
I'm pretty certain he has a phone, he just doesn't tell him. Right?
Yeah, right.
I've got it home, but I know. Talking.
I'll just forward this to you, right?
Thank you,
His
James.
name's Brady.
All right, I'll talk to him. Talk to him after the meeting.
All right, anyway.
What
On the
else?
same vein, in June, I sent an email, you'll have, if you look it up. And this is with the Soybean Transportation Coalition,
How they want them.
alternative bridge designs that pass muster according, like, this is the state of Iowa and KDOT. And there's other ways of doing this, and actually they'll partially fund it. There's, for these rural counties like us, there's a lot of ag, and they're trying to figure out a way to cross all these without spending millions of dollars.
So you're getting a bent out of me. I am, most likely. When I'm not doing county business, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm also in development. And so in November, I meet with a firm out of, Amsterdam that has an alternative bridge technology where they not only build the bridge, but it's pour in place concrete form. Okay, so right now, instead of having to build I-beams all the way across, it's pour in place concrete form and it dries in 5 days. It's built in 5 days. Yeah, so there are there's other modular technology. Now I'm not wearing my, but I'm telling you that the modular technology is there to do this different. So if you're looking at out of the soybean, right?
That's soy transportation. no?
Soy transportation, right? What you're trying to get to with a bridge, you're trying to understand what the materials are, whether it's $70,000-$80,000, and then a reasonable amount of profit and labor over the top. But the problem is that if you look at everybody's bridges throughout the Midwest and really elsewhere, everybody's bridges are in some state of disrepair or decay, and there's not enough money allocated to fix them in a timely fashion. So everybody's fighting this all the way throughout. So there will be some technology in the next 5 to 7 years that I think is really the modular bridge way to go. Because I don't think we're gonna be building a bunch of I-beam bridges over the next 50 years. That's gonna be the end all be all. It's gonna be some type of a module. But you're right. Yep. Sorry.
That's great. Would it interest you fellas to get those guys, they would need us, this alternative bridge to them.
Why not?
Absolutely. So can I resend this to you? And would you distribute? Okay.
I'd love to meet them too. I'm just interested. It's great. Anything we can do with alternative bridges is important.
Okay, that's done. Thank you. I don't have your email in this iPad yet. But it'll get there, and you don't have an email, but you.
No, I have an email, but I don't have a
Not
county
this-
iPad, correct?
Okay, so we did the end of month reports. There was nothing else we needed to discuss. I had a few things, the end of the. And Nikki, this is for you. Does the 1 o'clock start times work? Does it need to be 1:10? It'll probably for lunch. So 1 o'clock's fine.
Okay.
fine, is 1 o'clock okay versus
Fine.
1:10?
I'm fine with 1:10 too, if you want to do either way. What's good for you?
For me, it doesn't matter. I didn't think about the lunch hour.
1:10's
It's not-
good, because then if somebody, 1:10's good.
1:10?
Well, then let's just leave it at 1. Yeah,
Okay.
1's fine.
We'll leave it at 1. All right, there's that. The end of month meeting, October would be the schedule to have it in the basement of the gym. It could go every other month. So are you fine with putting that on the calendar? Are you fine with having that into the month meeting in the basement of the jail? I'm fine. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, do we need to make a motion to do it? I would make a motion that we have our end of the month meeting at 5:30. October.
5:30 PM. Okay, okay.
Now, hold on. Is that, are we gonna do it on Halloween? So. Nah, I didn't think about that. That was Richie.
1 o'clock would be better if we did it on Halloween, because all the trick or treaters are gonna be out.
Well, and I have the parade too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think 1 o'clock would be the winner.
We're gonna have to skip this one. For having it.
Yeah, because I
I'll
was,
just have a regular meeting for Halloween.
Yeah.
Is that okay? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I didn't know it was Halloween.
Yep.
Pay attention.
I have a parade map and. I don't
Okay, so we'll just have a
it.
regular schedule.
Right.
We'll do that. Okay, fair enough. I did reach out the last meeting, as one meeting call about helping or offering to help with a CDL license, and I did reach out to him, try to make arrangements to do that, so just for your knowledge. So that should help. And yeah, anything else for a little work session?
no, my to-dos are the landfill contract. And I'm working on the call BG, on the bridge. What's the name of the bridge? What?
FAS 51.
FAS 51? Okay, good. Okay. And then 170th. And then, I actually received an email from Ian. On the quiet title issue that I said I would help them with, and so they're gonna call me. They apologize for not getting back with me yet, but I said no worries, and so they'll call me.
Okay, if you have any questions on the bridge, Amy, we introduced to her, she walked in here, she handed us the document.
Oh.
She's our president.
Oh, great, okay,
She is, if you go out the door just across the hall,
okay.
you take a left, that's her.
All right, I'll go see, I'll talk to Tammy on my way out. Is there anything else you need of me today?
I'd have you look at something in the work session.
Yeah, I'll stick around.
And and I'm pretty much done. Okay, well then I guess, seeing we have no other business come before the commissioners, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. And we're adjourned. Okay, second, moving second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carried, we're adjourned. Pretty good time. It's 2:59. That was a 2-hour meeting. Well done, really well done. Okay,